Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome
Welcome
to First English Language Education Study Program International Conference 2021.
entitled The Use of Educational Technology
Recording in
(ELEPSIC)
progress.
during COVID-19 pandemic era.
Organized by English Language Education Study Program of Teacher Training and Education Faculty, Lambung Mangkurat University, collaborated with Asosiasi Program Studi Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris Kalimantan Selatan, December 4, 2021.
Before we proceed to the first agenda, I would like to inform you that the link for attendance and certificate will be sent to chat box at the end of all session. Therefore, please stay tuned with us until the end of our conference today.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first agenda of the second day is the presentation from the invited speaker, Kaum Donos MA and Professor Dr. Haji Abdul Mutim MPD. Without any further ado, we would like to request Mrs. Raisa Fadila MPD as the moderator to lead the session.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Raisa from Universitas Lambung Mangkurat, and it is an honor for me to be your moderator in this remarkable event. This session is divided into two sections. The first session is the presentation for about 50 minutes and followed by question and answer session. If you have any question, please send your questions in the chat box available, or later you can click raise a hand on your Zoom app when the Q&A session starts. Don't forget to mention your name and affiliation. Ladies and gentlemen, now already joining us here today, our honorable speaker, Kaum Downs MA. Mr. Kaum is currently the Director of English Education and Society at the British Council Indonesia. He has been involved in education, specifically language education and professional skills training, for over 20 years across Europe, Middle East, and East Asia. Mr. Kaum has extensive experience in EAP, ESP publishing Cambridge, English for job hunting for Cambridge University Press, and English for UN Peacekeepers. Without any further ado, let's invite Mr. Kaum to present the presentation.
Thank you very much, Reza. Good morning, everybody. Semua. Selamat pagi. I'm joining you from Jakarta. I live in Jakarta, but I think most of you are in Kalimantan, if I'm right. Am I right, Reza?
I think so, sir.
Yeah?
But I think there are some of our participants which are around from Indonesia, like Sumatra, and then also Sulawesi, and also Java.
Great. Okay, so we have participants from all over Indonesia.
Right, sir.
I really want to come to Kalimantan. I have been to Sulawesi, I've been to Sumatra, I've been to many different islands, but I need to come to Pontianak and Banjarmasin. I need to come to Kalimantan. One day after the pandemic, I will come and visit Kalimantan.
We are really looking forward for it.
Yes. Okay, so really very honored to have been invited to speak at your conference this morning. And I hope that all of the participants, you had an excellent day yesterday. I think this is the second day of your international conference. And I know that you had speakers, my friends, Professor Willy Renandia from Singapore, and also Pak Gumawang Jati from Bandung. So you had, I'm sure, some very insightful presentations yesterday. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about using technology to teach English, to monitor progress, and to assess progress that learners are making when they're learning English. It's good to see a couple of people saying good morning or a few words in the chat box. And I know we have 124 participants now. So I hope you have your tea or coffee, some breakfast, and you're comfortable. What I'm going to do is in a minute I will share my screen, and I have a few jobs for you. This is going to be a very interactive session. So I hope that you can type comments in the chat. I hope that you are able to see the chat and hear me at the same time. So maybe just to wake everybody up, tell me where you're from at the moment. Which city are you joining this webinar from? So I can see a few people. I can see that we have City. Oh, here we are. Braces from Banjarmasin, Jambi. Banjarmasin, hi. Nice Jemba. Banda Aceh. Ooh, I've been to Banda Aceh. I went to Banda Aceh about 2 years ago, and I went to Sabang Island. We have a Kupang. Kupang has great food. I've been to Kupang. Fantastic. Good morning. Okay, Lampung. One of my team at the British Council works in Lampung. His name's Orlando. Okay, good. So I can see that you're listening, that you can hear me. All right. Okay, so let me share my screen. Here we are. See, I was having a look this morning at different bits of Indonesia, as you can see. So Kalimantan is so big, isn't it? It's enormous. Indonesia is big. I think most people don't realize how big Indonesia is. And certainly in the rest of the world, they don't realize how big it is in terms of population, right? But my slides are here. So very few slides. And what we're going to do today is actually, as I said, the name of my talk is using online survey tools to teach, monitor, and assess language learning. And I'm still experimenting with this talk, okay? Now, what I want you to do, and I hope you can do this, because I know that you're joining this webinar using maybe a phone or a computer. You might need a second device, a second phone. I'm not sure, you might be able to do it on the same phone, but that's a bit technical. So I'm going to give you a bit of time, but in this first part of my presentation, I'm going to ask you to do a test. There's 10 questions. So it's a very interactive session this morning. There are 10 questions that I want you to do. This is the QR code. And this is the link to a online survey. I said we're going to do an online survey. So I'm going to open the chat for a minute. Can you tell me if you have managed, thank you for putting the link in, somebody, if you've managed to open the survey. So let's see who can multitask, who can do more than one thing, who can watch a webinar and do a survey. It's quite challenging. We'll see. You need 2 devices, I think. So I'm not expecting everybody to be able to do this, but I hope some of you are able to do this. Can anybody tell me in the chat whether they've managed to open the survey? I'm going to wait a minute. Yes, great. Okay. Oh, good. Fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, okay. Well, these people have opened my survey. So what I'm going to do now, let's go to the survey. So this, if you manage to open the survey, this is the survey, okay? And it's a very simple survey. It says take 6 minutes. I reckon it might take a little bit more than 6 minutes. It's not very complicated, but we're going to do it together. You put in your own answers, okay? So if let's start my survey. You have to put in it now. You can put in your real name but I will be honest here. I am going to display some of the answers. So if you put in your real name, we might know what you wrote. So that's up to you. Just know that, okay? But you don't have to put in your real name. If you want to put in a fake name or a different name for this survey, that's up to you. If you were a teacher, an English teacher though, with your students, obviously I think you would expect them to use their real names because you want to understand what your real students are really able to do and what they're not able to do. But anyway, I'm going to be real. So I'm going to put in my real name, column, and then I'm going to press OK because I'm happy with that, and I will go to the next question. And what's great about this survey is that it's remembered me. It says, thanks, column. Now, tell me on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know your conditionals? First conditional, second conditional, third conditional. I'm sure at school or as a teacher, you have had grammar lessons focusing on conditionals. How well can you remember them? So I think for me, I'm an English teacher. I know them pretty well. I'm going to say a 9 for me. Now, this bit, it's not going to be very exciting for the first.
Sorry, sir.
Yes?
What do you mean as conditional? Conditional of what?
Conditional sentences and structure, grammatical structures. So, do you know the rules? Do you know when to use a first conditional sentence or a second conditional sentence? It's about
I see.
your knowledge and your understanding of grammar.
Okay.
So this is a bit of a test in the morning, hey? Saturday morning, I'm going to test you. This technique, actually, if you want to know from an English teaching perspective, is called test, teach, test. Because I'm not teaching you anything at the moment. I'm giving you a test. And as you can see, question number 3, write one sentence, that's a mistake of mine, but one sentence using the zero conditional. So put the zero conditional here. An example sentence. So you have a few minutes to do this while I'm talking. It's a very simple look. There are 10 questions. This is number 3. Number 4 is very simple. It just says write 1 or 2 sentences using the first conditional. Number 5 says 1 or 2 sentences using the second conditional. Number 6, 1 or 2 sentences using the third conditional. That's all it is. I'm just giving you a test. I want to see what you can do. So you'll be writing your sentences using the conditionals that you said you knew. Or maybe you didn't say you know them. At the end of these sentences, there's a couple of other multiple choice questions. That's the end, number 10. So I'm going to give you a few more minutes. Now I can see over here, if I go to this panel, there's 145 people on this webinar. And at the moment, I'm just going to go to results. I can see that 63 people have opened this, okay? And 50 people have started it. We haven't got, no, okay? So I'm going to need some submissions before we move on. So let's go back to this. So you'll be writing in some of your sentences. You're probably thinking, well, I didn't come to be tested this morning. But please, I hope you'll be writing in some sentences. So write one sentence using the zero conditional structure, one sentence using the first conditional, one sentence using the second conditional, 1 or 2 using the third conditional. Okay, let's just look at the last couple of questions. Look at the cartoon below. I hope you can see that cartoon. Maybe you can see it on my screen if you can't on your phone. Try to imagine who this person is calling. What very polite request are they making? Complete the cartoon caption below, starting with the words, would you mind if? Would you mind if? How do you imagine this sentence finishes? That's my question number 7. Would you mind if? Question number 8. Well, question number 8 is a gap fill type of question. Complete the gap in this sentence about conditionals using one of the words below. So you got 0, first, second, third. The what conditional is used in situations, actions in the present or future which are not likely to happen or are imaginary, hypothetical, or impossible. So which conditional do we use to talk about situations or actions in the present or future which are not likely to happen? That's one of the rules about conditionals. So is it 0? Is it first? Is it second? Is it third? And my question number 9. So now you're going to see some examples actually. Which of the following sentences are written using the second conditional? You can choose more than one sentence. If you think more than one is written using the second conditional, you can choose more than one. And the last one, finish the following sentence with your own words. If I had more free time. Actually, I'm going to just see the chat. Maybe in the chat, somebody could finish that sentence. If I had more free time. How would you finish that? Somebody tell me in the chat. I mean, put it in the survey, but if I had more free time. How would you finish that? I can see people here. Ferda or Stefianiska. Made from Bali, I imagine. Samsul. If I had more free time, I would have been happy. I'd have visited England. If I had more free time, I will spend it with my family. I would be there with you. Okay. Good. So you're doing this. You can do it in the chat. Are you doing it? Let's see if people have finished the survey now. I want to see how many results we have. So we got 11 responses, 12 responses. So I'm going to push you a little bit. I want at least 20 responses by 9:30. If you can. If I had more free time, I'd spend it to take care of my mental health. Good. We've treated. Okay, some great sentences. Oh, I need to plug in my laptop. I've got a low battery. Here we go. It's a good reminder. Okay, let's keep the responses coming in to the survey. Let's get at least 20 up. 13 coming in. Okay, very close to finishing. We've got quite a lot of people starting my survey. Okay, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep the survey open for the time being. I'm going to open a PowerPoint presentation. I can still see the chat. I'm sure you will use PowerPoint very often. to, oh, why can I not write on here? 1 second. We need a, okay. Bear with me. So imagine I was going to give you a lesson about conditionals. I'm going to teach you a little bit about conditionals now. Very simple, as you can see. We will, I think, I will enlarge that a bit. Okay, enlarge that a bit more. Conditionals, conditional sentences. Can somebody give me an example of the zero conditional? A zero conditional sentence. All right, we're going to cheat a little bit. And what I mean by that is that I went to the internet earlier today, very simply, and I found, I didn't do this, it was just on Google when I was looking up conditional sentences. I'm going to give us 2 examples. I found, here we go, copy, paste. 2 examples I said, so here we go. You'll be able to see in a minute, and then you might go and finish my, here we go. Let's have a look at these. Full screen. Now, conditionals. If you're still breathing, you're still alive. That is very good. That's an excellent example. So let's have a look at the things I found on the internet and the rules that I found on the internet for the conditional. So here's 0, first, second, and third. And it's saying, let's look at the example it gave. If I study hard, I always pass my exams. Like as if this is a rule, yeah? That it is a real factual situation. If it is just a rule, you can use a zero conditional. Interestingly, if it's used for the future about something that we think is likely to happen, here, if I study hard, like if I study hard now, I will pass my exam tomorrow. If I studied hard, I would pass my exam tomorrow. We'll come on to this in a minute. We'll think, when would you use this example? If I study hard, I will pass my exam. And if I studied hard, I would pass my exam. You've got different, you can see they're giving you the structure. Present simple, present simple. Here you've got present simple if or plus present simple plus will plus the base verb. Some people call this the bare infinitive. Yeah, it's the like to pass, but bare infinitive without the to. So the base verb. But in the second conditional, the structure, if I studied hard, I would plus the base verb pass. And then here, third conditional, you can see underneath it says used for the past. So the key thing about the third conditional is that it was about things that have happened already. So it's about time. It's in the past. It's not in the present. It's not in the future. It's in the past. Imaginary scenarios. If I had studied hard, I would have passed my exams. A lot of people have difficulty with the third conditional because of all of these, like if I had, I would have. The grammatical structure is a little bit complicated. It's all about the past. Now, let's look at the second example. That was all about exams. Here we got something about coffee. Let's see if people can relate to this. Do you drink coffee? What happens to you when you drink coffee? I wonder if this is true for you. If I drink coffee at night, I don't sleep well. It's a rule. Yeah? A rule. If I drink coffee tonight, like today, later today, if I drink coffee tonight, because it's about the future, present or future. So let's say tonight, if I drink coffee at 9 o'clock tonight, I won't sleep well. Yeah? If I drank coffee tonight, I wouldn't sleep well. And if I had drunk coffee last night, I wouldn't have slept well. So you can see, I hope this is giving you a bit of insight into the structure of your conditional sentences. Now, what I want to do next, I'm going to ask you for some examples. Right, I'm going to ask you for some examples in a moment. Let's go back to my PowerPoint so I can write at the same time. Actually, I want to show you something else. I have a picture, I think, somewhere to show you. I'm going to show you this picture. This is about time, so a little bit more of a lesson on conditionals. Remember, the third conditional is over here. It's in the past. If I had drunk coffee, I wouldn't have slept well. In the third conditional, so all in the past. Whereas the first conditional and second conditional are sort of present and future. Now, I'm going to go back to my slide here. I need to come up with some examples. So let's just focus on zero conditional for a minute. Right, zero conditionals are rules, okay? They are rules, really, about life, about rules that exist, logic. They're factual things. So can somebody give me some examples of zero conditional sentences in the chat box? Like here, I'll give you one. If it rains, oh, there you go. Oh no, that's first conditional. If it rains and you don't have an umbrella, is mine. You get wet. You get wet. That's a fact, right? If you jump, I jump. Yeah, okay. It's a fact. This is a fact. If it rains, first, remember, conditionals are all about two things. First thing happening and then the consequence. So if it rains and you don't have an umbrella, you get wet. If you freeze water, it turns to ice. Yeah. If you, well, that one about blood and bleeding. If you lose, let's do another one. If you lose too much blood, what happens? If you lose too much blood, some people are putting first conditional sentences in the chat. If you lose too much blood, you can say you die. Yeah. Yes, you could just say you die. But I think it's much easier to focus on we'll leave the second conditional now. We'll put in let's duplicate that. Let's go on to the first conditional. I really like first conditionals. So first conditionals, let's have some examples from you. Now, I think you use a first conditional when there is a good chance, a very good chance of something happening. Yeah. Let's say, oh, I think, certainly if it's more than 50% of that happening, then I would use the first conditional. So give me some examples. Okay. Right, Mohammed has put in a sentence, okay? If I work hard at work, I will get a raise. Interesting one. If I work hard at work, I will get a raise. If I am thirsty, I drink. If I take some rest, maybe I'll feel better. Let me put in this example. Tell me what you think of this example. Oh, there's a mistake here. Right, first conditionals. Right. If I pass my exam, I will go to ITB. If I pass my exam, I'll go to ITB. If I passed my exams, if I pass my exams, put an S, I would go to ITB. Now, can somebody explain in the chat box, when would I use the first one and when would I use the second one? They're both correct. Maybe somebody wants to unmute and tell me the difference between why this one is second conditional. This one is second conditional. So let's change the color of it, shall we? Let's make it red. And underneath, I could tell you that this is the second conditional. Somebody's going to tell me, yeah? And for the second conditional, there is a bad chance of something happening. Maybe the chance is only 1 to 10%. Yeah, more than 50% chance. I know it's not the most beautiful slide in the world, right? But you get the idea. So in my examples, yeah, it's getting a bit better. Okay, so I've got my first conditional. If I pass my exams, I will go to ITB. And my second conditional, if I passed my exams, I would go to ITB. And you can see here that the reason I decide to use the second conditional is maybe I think, in my mind, I believe there's a bad chance of this happening. I can see somebody on my screen. You're going to help me? Who's joining me? No?
I think Miss Ibu Dina wants to say something, sir.
Okay, great. Come on. I'm listening.
She unmuted. Ibu Dina, maybe you want to say something?
No? Okay. No? Okay.
Maybe because of the problem of the microphone, sir.
Okay. All right. So You can see that I'm using the first conditional if I think there's a good chance of it happening, and I'm using the second conditional when I think that there's not a good chance. But also, we can use the second conditional in another situation. We could also use the second conditional when it is impossible. That sounds right. So maybe I'll give you an example. To give advice. So if it's impossible, there's a 0% chance, okay? If I were you, I would study in Bali, yeah? That's an example of a second conditional sentence, to give advice. If I were you, I would go and see a doctor. Okay, give me some advice in the chat. If I come to Kalimantan, what should I do? Use the same structure. What should I do in Kalimantan using this structure? I want to see some action in the chat. If I were you, I would visit a floating market. I would go to Pulau Kambang. Made, that's not a full sentence, but okay. I would go to see orangutans. I would go to the floating market. Okay. And Abdul says I would go to Martapura. Why Martapura? What's in Martapura, Abdul? So you can use the second conditional in different ways. So here's another way to give advice. If you remember, if I were you, I would, okay. Good. So this is another way we use conditionals. We've got first conditional, we've got second conditional. I'm going to give you one more way we can use the second conditional. And this is for a very polite request. Very polite request. Okay, this is a different use. It's not to do with percentages. Very polite request is, would you mind if I sat here? Would you mind if I opened the window? Would you mind if I arrived at 1 p.m. So when we want to be very, very polite, we sometimes use the similar structure. So you can see that these tenses here is the past participle. Yeah? It's not regular. Would you mind if you closed the door from the outside? Okay, good. But if you were just being direct to somebody, but Anissa, you put, would you mind if I turn off? So you're missing the ED. You see what I mean? This you're not being polite enough. So you can just say, look, turn off the television. Turn off the television. That's a direct order, right? It's a bit rude. But if you say, could you turn off the television? That's a request. It's just a request, right? A request. If I wanted to be very polite, I would then say, would you mind if I turned off television? And I'm getting to be very, very polite. Yeah? This is a much more advanced lesson about conditionals. Now, I realize that our lesson is running away with us. What I need to put in at the end is, and you're going to help me do this, we're going to finish with the third conditional very quickly. Third conditionals are often used to talk about, well, they're used to talk about the past. They're often used to talk about regret. So it's or hypothetical situations. So the opposite of what happened. So let's tell a story in the third conditional. Let's tell a story in the third conditional. Tell me something that bad happened, something you regret. I wish I hadn't what? I wish I hadn't. Dig in is not clear enough, Zakaria. I wish I hadn't. What do you wish you hadn't done? Somebody must have some regrets. Hide my favorite food. Well, let's say I wish I hadn't. I wish I hadn't what? I wish I hadn't. Or I wish I had something you wish you did do, but you didn't do. I wish I had talked. Oh, here's some good ones. Here's some good ones. Right. I wish I had talked more with somebody important. Okay. I wish I had talked to her. What would have happened if I did? If I had talked to her, can you help me finish the next sentence? If I had talked to her, I wouldn't have joined the military. If I hadn't joined the military, oh, that was something. If I hadn't joined the military, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have won. I wouldn't have jumped out of an aeroplane, maybe. Or I wouldn't have gone to Iraq. Good. I wouldn't have gone to Iraq. Okay. So you can see what's happening here. You can. We're doing lots of sentences. We'll do one more. If I hadn't gone to Iraq, I wouldn't. You can help me, Fitra. I wouldn't have. Oh, wow. Okay, full circle. I wouldn't have lost my girlfriend to someone else. That was good. That was thanks for finishing the story. So that, look, we've got quite a story there. You got different parts to it. Sad story. Yeah, it's a sad story. You got. I wish I had talked to. If I had talked to her, I wouldn't have joined the military. And then what next happens? If I hadn't joined the military, I wouldn't have gone to Iraq. All right. And if I hadn't gone to Iraq, I wouldn't have lost my girlfriend to somebody else. What a story, indeed. But this is third conditional. It's all about the past, and you can see the consequence. If I had done this, this wouldn't have happened. If I had done this, this wouldn't have happened. It's all about cause and effect, cause and effect. Now, why am I doing all of this? So I need to talk a little. This is my conditional lesson, and I can save all of this. I will save all of this. Save. Now, let's go back. to your responses. Let's just close that for a second. So I've got 30 responses. What I'm going to do actually is, I just close that. Here are the responses, 30 responses to my survey. Thank you very much, by the way, 30 of you. If I look at the results, summary of the results, this is what you said. You said on a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you know your conditionals? It was a big spread. Only one person said 10, very well. So you're not super confident. You had a big, somebody was like, I don't know them at all, very honest. And then I can see all these answers, right? So I can see all these answers that you've given me. I just want to go, before I look at those answers, I'm going to go to question 8. Now look at that. Second, 0, first, third. The correct answer is second, but only 48% of you got it correct. So 13 responses out of 30, 48% of you got that correct. So not a huge percentage of my class. I would, as a teacher, I want a much higher percentage, okay, to get that correct. And on this one, which of the following sentences are written using the second conditional? Again, a bit of a mix. It is true that if I were you, I would move to Bali is second conditional. And if I had more free time, I would watch more Korean dramas. That's also second conditional. This is not, and this is not. So you got the main two, but it still could have been better. Now, what I'm going to do, I want to go to my survey. I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to go to this one. I just want to save this. 1 second. Okay. So if you want to do it again, this is a new survey link. New survey link. Let's go back to the original one and start looking at some of your answers. I need to bear with me. So I'm going to go to the survey that you just did. I'm going to go to the results. And I'm interested in individual responses now. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to pick on a couple of people. Let's have a look at Fitra. So Fitra is a student of mine. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her performance. We can put her on the chat. Fitra, I hope you don't mind. If this is your real name, or if this is, you can be silent if you like. I don't know if this is Fitra Ramadani, but we're going to look at Fitra. I'm a teacher, okay, so I want to see how well my student Fitra is doing. Bear in mind that I have 165 students, but I'm going to monitor their performance. So Fitra said that she was 7 out of 10, reasonably confident on conditionals. If I don't eat, I starve. That is a good example of the 0 conditional. So well done, you get a point for that. Now, First conditional. If I don't eat, I will starve. Yeah, I think that's just a typo. There should have been a full stop. You got the second example. And I will be broke if I don't work. If I don't work, I will be broke. It's a bit informal English, but it's a good sentence. Both of those are good. There's a lack of punctuation in the middle, but you're probably on your phone, so it's okay. So more points. Well done. That's another good example. So this student of mine, Fitra, is doing very well. Okay, so I can mark her homework and give her points. Let's have a look, see if she knows the second conditional. If I were broke, I would work harder. Very good. Yeah, if I didn't have any money, I would work harder. And if I had been broke, I would have worked. So you've got the grammar, Fitra. Fantastic. Would you mind if you don't call me now? That grammatically doesn't quite work. So this was the second conditional. We would probably say, would you mind if I called you back later? That's what I would probably write. I'll put it in the chat. It'd be like, would you mind if I called you back later? Or would you mind yeah, that's probably what I would put. And then Fitra was doing so well, but it's not the third conditional here. It's the second conditional. And no, that's the third conditional, because that was the past. So these two you got wrong, Fitra. If I'd had more free time, I would have been happy. So Fitra gets, from me, a score of 8 out of 10, I think. No, you get 7 out of 10. So you did very well, but room for improvement. I could now know that Fitra is pretty good at the grammar, but she might need a bit of reminding about the third conditional and the second conditional. But pretty good. Let's have a look at somebody else. Anybody else want to be honest? Wow. Okay, this is Rena. Let's have a look. Rena, she says 9 out of 10. That's how confident Rena was. If I have a lot of money, I will travel all over the world. That is first conditional, Rena, because we've got the will, right? The will is first conditional. This is not a rule. I will meet you if I have enough time. That's fine. If I have enough time, I will meet you. If I were you, I would accept that offer. Very good. Second conditional for giving advice. Remember, it's impossible to be me. So that's another use of the second conditional. If you had studied harder, you would have passed the exam. Very good. Third conditional. Would you mind if I help you? See, again, slight, because it's this unusual one. Would you mind if I helped you? We got the ED missing. If I helped you. It is the second conditional. If I had more time, I would watch more Korean dramas. That is one of the sentences. And if I had more free time, I would come to your house. Good. So I think actually you get 9 out of 10, Rena. Well done. Well, the point I'm trying to make, and I realize that my time is coming up now, is what I've been trying to do today is 2 things. One is show you how you could send this type of activity to your students, and you get all of their results, and you'd be able to monitor their progress. You could see their strengths and weaknesses. Now, what I could have done is I could have sent you the, let's have a look at this. 1 second. second. You see, the lesson that I actually did with you live, we did a bit of a lesson and I was teaching you. I could have sent this to you. I could have sent this to you before the test by email or by WhatsApp. Yeah, so you could have studied these rules first. I was a bit cruel. I just gave you the test. But what I've done now is I've given you the test again. I've given you a second chance. Very short, admittedly. But I wonder if anybody's done it the second time. Not yet. It's the same thing. Did anybody open it? Let's have a look. Not yet. But, you know, we could do the test again now. I could just repeat it. I could send you the survey, a copy, and see if you did better the next time. But considering, look, I'm in Jakarta on my own. There are 170 of you. Sometimes it's very hard to know what your students are doing, how your students are learning. But in this way, I think it's an interesting tool to use. You don't have to use what I used, which was called Typeform. You could use Google Forms. You could use Microsoft Forms, which are free. I'm sure many of you already are using those as a survey for research, yeah? Or maybe even to get data for registration for conferences like this. Often we ask questions when people register. But I think you could use it as a way of getting your students to demonstrate their learning. I'm aware of time, so I'll stop there for a minute. And I think if you have any questions or comments, I think Reza is going to be giving me some questions or comments. So, Reza, over to you. You're on mute.
Suaranya, okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Kong, for a very insightful presentation. Yeah, although we are being tested at the beginning, okay, about conditional. Well, maybe I want to say something about the conditional, sir. That maybe at the lesson we just realized that we have zero conditional, because in our book, what we teach from like elementary school or secondary schools, they are taught like first, second, and third. Yeah, we know that the zero conditional sentence, but in the lesson, zero conditional is not stated in the book. Yeah, so I think it's the new side actually. It is called as a zero conditional. All right, thank you very much, sir. Now we move to the question and answer session. So if you have questions, you may ask through chat box, or anyone wants to say something directly to Mr. Kong. Seems that Bapak Nasrullah raised a hand.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Kong, it's really nice that I can talk with you at this moment. I just would like to ask you a little bit questions about, would it be possible that all grammaticals that we have learned are actually being implemented in our daily basis or in our routine speaking activity? Is it possible? Or because sometimes when the people talk to the other by using very strict grammatical, it just look like they talk like a book. So sometimes it is, considered by the other people around. Maybe it's just my perceptions. This is not quite blended with the community where the language is spoken anyway. So what do you think in your mind? Thank you.
I think I get your question, but I want to make sure. Tell me, just repeat the question a little bit about, is it about how people speak English? How your students speak English?
So I really, realized and aware that we should talk grammatically based on many teaching of the grammar. But is it really possible that we can use the complexity of the grammar that we have learned in our speaking upbringing anyway when we talk to people, or just maybe there is only several more frequent grammar that usually used by the people when they're talking, uh, like what we have seen right now, like hypothetical or the third type of grammar. Is it really uh, used by many people in the community, like in British or American people use that grammar very frequently or not anyway? But just would like to ask the clarification for this. Do you get what I mean?
Okay, so wow, I've got so many things I would like to say. Right, in my opinion, I think that as much as possible, time in the classroom, if you're a teacher, I think with your students, time in the classroom as much as possible should be used for productive activities, productive skills, which means writing and speaking. And actually, I would have more speaking. Both activities where one student can practice their speaking, maybe by giving a short presentation. But even better are speaking activities where you have students speaking in pairs or groups. If all of your students are speaking simultaneously for half of the lesson, that's a fantastic lesson. If they're making mistakes, grammatical mistakes, that doesn't matter, because the more you practice, the more you speak, the more fluent and the better your English will be. Now, you might give them a script, you might give them some vocabulary items to experiment with, you might have a lesson about the second conditional, for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, give them some phrases and expressions. Personally, I don't teach grammatical rules very often. I would, if I was in the classroom, I would probably teach the conditionals without saying very much about grammatical structures. If I was teaching the third conditional, my lesson would be about regret. I would be talking to my students about, oh, what do you regret? Oh, I wish I hadn't eaten that nasi goreng yesterday because now I feel sick, right? It's regret. I'm not really talking about the structure of the third conditional. Then all my students in the class, we could all talk about what we regret, and we could try to do that using the third conditional. And if they make a few grammatical mistakes, it's no problem. So I could talk about this all day, and I think increasingly, don't worry about American English or British English. Just worry about people feeling confident to communicate.
Okay, it's to recap what you said in my own perception that I got from you. It is better to teach them the functional structure of grammar, so it can easily to be grasped by the student when we teach the grammar itself, functional grammar. Is it? Can I call it like that?
Yeah, you can call it like functional grammar if you like. What's the function of the vocabulary? So I like functional based syllabuses. I like exactly having a lesson on today. We're going to talk about how to express regret. That's the function. So rather than today, we're going to talk about the third conditional. Yeah. Another function is request, a polite request. So you could have a lesson about polite requests. So, but yeah, I'm aware of time. I don't want to take the next speaker's time, but I'm happy to answer any more quick questions. Just to make it clear, the focus of my presentation today was not really about grammatical structures or the conditionals. What I wanted to show everybody is that by using very simple tool, a survey, and you can find free ones, Google Form, Microsoft Form, you can get your students to do some exercise, some tasks, some sentences, some paragraphs, and then you as the teacher know how they are doing individually. Yeah, so you monitor their individual performance. Like I can remember, I've never met. Is it who are the two students I looked at? They were both good, but there were two. Yeah, and Fitria, and I feel like I know those students a bit better, even though I've never even met them. Right, and that's what you should do as a teacher: know your students. Razor.
All right. Thank you very much for the fruitful presentation and answer, Mr. Combe. Now, because the time is limited, we want to kindly present a token of appreciation to Mr. Combe on behalf of the organizing committee. Thank you very much for the time and the sharing, sir.
Thank you very much. One thing I wanted to finish with Razor
Yes, sir, please.
is I will put a link in the chat in a minute, but with Pak Gumawang Jati, what time does your conference finish today?
Today, 12, around 12, sir.
Around 12, okay. So this afternoon, if you're not tired, there's a fantastic webinar this afternoon around technology and English teaching by an Indonesian expert and two UK experts, and I'll put a link in the chat in a minute. But we have one webinar every 2 weeks with ITEL that we organize. That is, the president is Pak Gumawang Jati, and some UK English language teaching experts. So I just wanted to, in case people are keen for more training, more resources, then I will put it in the box. It's free, and you also get a certificate. So
Yes, sir, please. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. We are really looking forward to it for the link.
okay, terima kasih banyak. I really do hope to come to Banjarmasin and Kalimantan. I've been wanting to come for a long time. I will come.
Okay, we are waiting for it, sir. See you soon.
Terima kasih.
You're welcome, sir. Sama-sama. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we have our second speaker here, which is Professor Dr. Haji Abdul Mutim MPD. Mr. Abdul Mutim is a professor in EFL. His main concern and research is the teaching of English as a foreign language, especially the teaching and learning of writing. His recent publications are an article entitled Becoming Polyglots Through Formal and Non-Formal Language Education, and a book entitled Pengantar Penelitian Pendidikan Bahasa. Without any further ado, let's invite Professor Abdul Mutim to present the presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all this morning? Hopefully everyone is fine. In the first day, we had Dr. Gumawang from ETB and Dr. Willy from Nanyang University talking about technology in education. Just now we just heard a presentation from Mr. Com Downs from British Council. Yeah. I am the last speaker. I'm not talking about technology in education. Frankly, this is beyond my capability. So I'm still learning. I'm from old generation, so I'm not so familiar with the technology. But don't worry. In this presentation, I will talk about something else from the language. That is signals sent from Al-Quran. Yeah. What is the message sent by Al-Quran? Be polyglot. Yeah, be polyglot. Okay, so just a moment. I will share the screen with you. Here. The title of my presentation is Be a Polyglot. Signals sent from Al-Quran. Yeah. Yeah, first we want to discuss what is meant by polyglot. According to online Oxford Dictionary, a polyglot is a person who is able to understand and use many languages. And according to Collins Cowbelt Advanced Dictionary, polyglot is understood as a person who speaks or understands many languages. So, from these two definitions, there are two signals sent from Al-Quran that we have to be able to receive any language and also to produce any language. From the sources I read, there are many people who could speak more than languages. For example, the late President Soekarno, the first president of Indonesia, he could speak 10 languages. Fazlur Rahman Malik, yeah, from Pakistan, he could speak 8 languages. And Pope Francis could speak 7 languages. Al-Kire could speak 16 languages. Ollie Richards could speak 8 languages. Steve Kaufman could speak 16 languages. Richard Simcott could speak 16 languages. Lydia Mashopa could speak 9 languages. Those are the people, some of the people who could speak, who could understand and speak more than languages. So from these cases, I believe that everyone could be a polyglot. So what signal Al-Quran sent to us? The first is from chapter 49 of Al-Quran, verse 13. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dzakarin wa unsa wa ja'alnakum syu'uba wa qabaila lita'arafu. I highlighted the last word, lita'arafu. The translation of this verse, O mankind, we have created you from a male and female and made you into nations and tribes that you may know one another. Yeah. So the key words here, the message, the signal sent by Al-Quran is to know one another. Yeah, to know one another. Knowing one another means we have to use language. While most of us only could speak or understand only one language. Naturally, we can understand one language. But Al-Quran send the message to know one another. So meaning that it implies that we have to understand more languages. Another signals, Quran chapter 30 verse 22. It reads, wa min ayatihi khalqus samawati wal ardi wa ikhtilafus alsinatikum. And among his signs in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the difference of your languages. From the beginning, Al-Quran mentions that our tongue, our languages are different. While in the other message, we have to know each other. What happened? How come? We communicate, we understand each other while our languages are different. Okay, this is the idea, the signal sent from Al-Quran. The first, we have to know each other, but the condition is our languages are different. Your language, in Indonesia, for example, more than 700 local languages are available. For Banjaris, they have their own language, Banjaris. But Quran send the message, Lita Arapu, communicate with other, know each other. How can we know each other if we don't know the language? Asking the names, of course, we have to use the language, right? Asking the address of someone, we should use language. Asking their family is also needs language. This is to know each other. From these two signals, it's inspired me that we can become polyglots. And the cases I showed you indicate that we have the ability to be polyglots. This message gives us understanding that in life, humans should communicate each other by using language. From so many definitions of communications, I conclude there are two aspects. First, we are said to have communication ability if we understand what other people speaks or write. This is the receptive abilities. And the second one, we are said to have communication ability if when we speak, when we write in any language, other people can understand us. So being understood. Now, this is two aspects of communication. Understanding spoken or written language and being understood when speaking and or writing. In their book, Linguistics, An Introduction to Language and Communication, Akmajian and his friends conclude that language is unique to human species. So only human species that could language use. Bird may use language and may use language, but their language never developed all along the age, all along the time. But language used by humans always develops. That is what inspires me to talk about this. Language is unique to the human species. What uniqueness? Well, we can see here some uniqueness of language. I think that we believe that there are no humans without language. Even the dumb also use language. Deaf and dumb use their own language. There are no humans without language. A baby or small child use and understand the language. Teenagers understand and be able to use the language. Adults understand and use the language. Old people also understand and use the language. So there are no humans without any language. The other uniqueness of the language is spoken language is the primary means of communication. People living in the old days, in the Stone Age, mostly communicate through spoken language. Only after language develops, written language is needed to preserve the language. Written language is secondary. Other uniqueness of language is some humans communicate in one language, especially in the remote areas. Uneducated people, they use the language, their own local language, their vernacular language, but they only use that language. Mostly this is first language. Some humans communicate in two languages. Most Indonesians who have ever gone to schools, who are educated, and who traveled a lot, yeah, at least understand and use two languages, their local language and bahasa Indonesia. Some humans communicate in more than two languages. This is the point we are going to talk. Yeah, polyglots, more than two languages. Like us, for example, from English department, student or teachers, we can talk our local language, we can talk in bahasa Indonesia, and also we can talk in English. And some people can talk in Arabic. These are the polyglots. Besides this uniqueness, yeah, Al-Quran also give signal or send signals. There are some facilities that enables humans being to be able to communicate. In Quran chapter 2 Al-Baqarah verse 33, it is stated that qala ya Adam ambihum bi asma'ihim. God said, "Oh Adam, inform them of their name, asma'ihim." Yeah. And when he had informed of their names, he said, "Did I not tell you that I know the gaib or unseen in the heavens and the earth? And I know what you reveal and what you have been concealed." So, Al-Quran gives signals that human beings are equipped with asma. Yeah. Taught with asma. What is asma? This is also about asma. Quran chapter 7 verse 180. Walillahi al asmaul husna. Yeah. From this, yeah, I conclude that asma means Quran or Allah through Al-Quran uh, teach us or the potential of having vocabulary. Yeah, having vocabulary. What is vocabulary? According to Cambridge Advanced Language Dictionary, vocabulary means all the words known and used by a particular person. So, God teaches us all the words needed to communicate. It covers the content words, like nouns, all the nouns, like verbs, word that shows actions, adverbs, words that shows the quality of action, adjectives, words that justifies or explain of the quality of nouns. In addition to teach us content words, God through Al-Quran also tells us that functional word. In English, there are so many functional words. To be, have, preposition, predetermined, and so on and so on. Those are functional words to make the language produce meaningful. Okay. And we have these facilities. According to a study done by Professor Reima Al-Jafar from King Saudi University in 2011, she found out Arabic is a derivational language. It has about 1,200 derivational patterns that are used to derive new verbs, derives new nouns, new adjective, new adverbs, new agent, new tool names, new place names, and many others. New forms are usually derived from three consonantal roots. Yeah, three consonantal roots. Pa'ala, yap'alu, pa'ilun, map'ulun. Something like this. But the root is pa'ala. Doraba, yadribu, dorban, pahuwa doribun. This is also root. Yeah. Rozaka, arrozik, rizkun, marzuk, and so on. Yeah. So new forms are usually derived from three consonantal roots by adding consonant or by doubling consonant or by lengthening a vowel or by root modification. This is what was found by Professor Reima Al-Jafr from King Saudi University. Previously, I, from the verse sense by Al-Quran, we know that we are encouraged to communicate understanding spoken or written language and being understood. What is the function of communication? According to Pinocchiaro, yeah, there are 6 functions of communication. First, it is used to express one emotion. I'm sad. I'm happy. Those are sentences to express one emotion. Needs. Yeah. I need to buy some medicine. Thought, desires, or attitude. Or sometimes it is used to clarify or classify ideas one's have in his or her mind. Function number 2 of communication is interpersonal. This communication is intended to establish and maintain good social relationship. How is your father? When we meet a friend, we are asking, how is your father? Or send my best regard to your parents. This is to maintain good social relationship. But remember, language can also ruin the social relation. If the sentences we produce is not good, this may ruin the relationship between individuals. In communication, we also sometimes giving praise, expressing praise, or expressing sympathy. I'm sorry to hear that your father is ill. or joy at another success. Congratulations for your success. To inquire about health. How is your father? To apologize. I'm sorry. And so on and so on. This is interpersonal function. Hello? Okay. Yeah, the other function is directive. This is to control the other behaviors, the behavior of others. For example, in a hotel, the floor is wet. There is a sign there, be careful, still wet. Or warnings, yeah, warning. Some we can see here warnings. For example, in electricity of high voltage, it's dangerous. High voltage, jalan bergelombang, and so on. Requests. Will you pass the salt? When we are in restaurant, uh, we say something to the people next to us. Will you pass the salt? This is a request. Persuasion, suggestion. I suggest you not to go through this way. And also directive, belongs to when we are order someone, especially from the higher rank to the lower rank, or from the older to the younger. Yeah, we usually use this kind of sentence order. Be quiet. We say this to our students or in discussion. Communication is also used to talk about object or events in the immediate settings or environment. What happened yesterday? This is an example of referential. How many victims are injured in the accident? This is also referential. Metalinguistics, if we talk about the language. Now, right now, I think we are talking about the language, the function of the language. So, we functionally use language in communication as metalinguistic. And the last function of language in communication is imaginative. When you are writing novel, when you are writing poetry, when you are writing essay, and so on and so on, you are using or you are functioning language for communication as imaginative. Okay. What's wrong? Okay. When communication takes place in daily life, people always communicate each other, always try to understand other people and try to be understood by other people. For example, parents talk, communicate to their children. Children communicate to their parents. We in school, in universities, we talk with our colleagues, we communicate with our colleagues. Or we talk in, if we are in, we belong to one group, we talk to or we communicate with other member of the group. And when we teach, we are at school, We communicate with our students. Students communicate with us as their teacher. Okay. Now, I want to tell you communication or samples of communication among humans being that recorded in Al-Quran. For example, we can read in Al-Quran how Prophet Yaqub, communicate with his children. We also can read in Al-Quran how Prophet Abraham or Ibrahim communicate with his son when he wanted to do uh, the message from the Lord. Yeah. We can also read the story of Prophet Noah, no, how he communicate with his son. From Al Quran, we also can read the story of Luqman, pious person, communicate with his children. And of course, we can read in Al Quran how Prophet Muhammad communicate with his companions. Yeah. Now the question is, in what languages do they communicate? In what language did Yaqub communicate in with his children? In what language did Prophet Abraham communicate with his son? In what language did Prophet Noah communicate with his son? Of course, they communicate with the language they both understood. Yeah. Okay. Now we go on to cases of being polyglots recorded in Al Quran. This communication between Moses and God. Yeah. Moses and God. Yeah. In chapter 143, in chapter 7, verse 143, yeah, it is stated that walamma ja'a Musa limiqatina wa kallamahu rabbuhu qala rabbi arini unzur ilaika qala lan tarani walakin anzur ilal jabali. Yeah. What is the translation of this ayah? When Moses came at the time and place appointed, he said, "O my Lord, show me yourself, that I may look upon you." Allah said, "You cannot see me, but look upon the mountain. If it stands still in its place, then you shall see me." So when his Lord appeared to the mountain, he made it collapse to dust, and Moses fell down unconscious. Then, when he recovered his sense, he said, "Glory be to you. I turn to you in repentance, and I am the first of the believers." The question is, from this story or from this ayat, in what language did the dialogue take place? I don't know. But I believe that the dialogue took place in the language that Moses understood. We are no doubt that God understands any language. But how about Musa? Yeah, I guess God uh, communicate with Moses in the language that Moses understood. This is one first case. Case two, it is stated, it is told in Quran, still chapter 7, verse 144. Now, I just read the translation. Allah said, "O Moses, I have chosen you about men by my messages and by my speaking to you. So hold that which have given you and be of the grateful." The same question, in what language is the communication taking place? The answer is in the language that Moses could understand. Case 3, yeah, case 3. Please remind me if the time is over. In Quran chapter 27, verse 9, it is stated that this is the translation, O Moses, verily it is I, Allah, the Almighty, the All-Wise. Yeah. The same question is, in what language is the communication taking place? The answer should be in the language that Moses could understand. Okay, another dialogue between God and Adam. This is found in chapter 2, verse 33. Yeah. This is the translation. O Adam, he said, O Adam, inform them of their names. And when he had informed them their names, he said, Did I not tell you that I know the Gaib, or unseen in the heavens and the earth, and I know what you reveal and what you have been concealing? The question is, in what language is the communication between God and Adam? Of course, in the language Adam could understand. Case 5. Again, this is between God and Adam. This is found in Quran chapter 2, verse 35. Wa qulna ya Adam uskun anta wa zawjuka. And we said, O Adam, dwell you and your wife in the paradise, and eat both of you freely with pleasure and delight of things therein, as wherever you will, but come not near this tree, or you both will be of the zalimin, or wrongdoers. Now, again, in what language the communication between God and Adam taking place? Of course, it is in the language Adam understood. Case 6, still about Adam and God. This is found in Quran 20.
We have 3 minutes left, sir.
Okay, what's wrong? Hello?
It's
Yes.
good.
Then we said, O Adam, verily this is an enemy to you and to your wife. So let him not get you both out of paradise. So that you will be distressed. The same question is asked in what language? Of course, in the language that Adam could understand. Now, this is more interesting between God and Adam. Okay, how much time do I have?
3 minutes left. 3.
3 minutes. Okay, I skip this. This is also the case of Adam and Abraham. Now, this is interesting between Solomon and Hudhud bird. Yeah, this is found in Quran chapter 27, An-Naml, verse 22 and 23. This is the translation. But the whole stayed not long. He came up and said, I have grasped the knowledge of a thing which you have not grasped, and I have come to you from Saba or Sheba with true news. I found a woman ruling over them. She has been given all things that could be possessed by any ruler of the earth, and she has a great throne. In what language is the communication between the Hupu or Hudhud bird and the prophet Solomon taking place? This is interesting. So, should be in the language that the bird Hudhud and the prophet Solomon could understand. So, Solomon has the capability of understanding bird language. Next, case 10 between okay, this is also between Solomon and Hudhud. Solomon said, "We shall see whether you speak the truth or you are one of the liars. Go with you with this letter of mine and deliver to them, then draw back for them and see what answer they return." In what language? Of course, in the language that both the bird and Solomon understood. This is case 11. The story of Satan or devil and Adam. In Quran Surah chapter 20, verse 120, it is stated that then the Satan whispered to him, saying, O Adam, shall I lead you to the tree of eternity and to a to a kingdom that will never waste anyway? Yeah. Then the Satan whispered to Adam, O Adam, shall I lead you to the tree of eternity and to a kingdom that will never waste away? This is the dialogue between Adam and Satan, or Satan and Adam. The question is, in what language is the communication between the Satan and Adam take place? Of course, in the language both Satan and Adam understood. This is communication between Jinn and Solomon. Yeah, this found in An-Naml chapter 27, verse 39. An Ifrit from the jinn said, I will bring it to you before you rise from your place. And verily, I'm indeed strong and trustworthy for such work. In one language is communication between the jinn and prophet Solomon taking place. Of course, in the language both understood. Yeah. This is between An and yeah, the dialogue between ants, but understood by Solomon. Okay, now I skip to modes of understanding. Yeah, how what signals does Al Quran send in understand language? First, through listening. This can be read in Quran chapter 7, verse 204. Wa idza quri'al Qur'an fastami'u lahu wa ansitu. So when the Quran is recited, listen to it and be silent to comprehend, that you may receive mercy. Okay, listening through reading. This can be found Quran chapter 96 from verse 1 to 5. Iqra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq. Iqra, read. And writing, this can be found in Quran chapter 2 verse 282. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu idza tadayantum bidainin ila ajalim pas musamma faktubuhu. O you who believe, when you contract a debt for a fixed period, write it down. So we are recommended, we are suggested to be able to write. And speak. This can be found in Quran chapter 16, verse 125. Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal mau'izatil hasanah wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan. Invite mankind, Muhammad, to the way of your Lord or Islam with wisdom and fair preaching, and argue with them in a way that is better. So, ud'u, that means preach or argue, debate, wajadilhum, here argue. So, Al-Quran sends a message for us that as a language learner, we have to be able to speak. Yeah, to speak. Okay, this is almost at the end of our presentation. What makes human be able to communicate? I believe that God has already instilled in our brain, our mind, instrument, a device which is called language acquisition. With this device, human can learn, can understand and use any language. Also, as human, we have speech organs like tongue, lips, teeth, nose, palate, lung, etc. And there are two processes through input and output. What will happen if there is no or lack of exposure to human language? There are three cases. I want to tell you if we have still have time. The first case is the boy of Avron or Victor. Yeah. Victor was about 12 years old when he was captured in the Cone Woods, and Dr. Eiter tried to 5 years to teach him to speak and read. Victor succeeded in understanding a language of words and phrases, but he could not produce no speech except the two excellent audio or lay. This is Victor because he was completely isolated from human. The second case, Kamala and Amala. Kamala was about 8 years and Amala about 1.5 years. They were thoroughly wolfish in appearance because they were catered by wolves. Their teeth were sharp and edged. They moved their nostrils, sniffing food, eating and drinking, accomplished by lowering their mouth to the plate. They ate raw meat, and on one occasion, they killed and devoured a whole chicken. At night, they prowled and sometimes howled. They shunned other children but followed the dog and cat. They slept rolled up together on the floor. Amala died within a year, but Kamala lived to be 18. And the last case of Jenny. Jenny was first encountered when she was 13, 9 months. At the time of her discovery and hospitalization, she was unsocialized. She was very primitive human being. She was emotionally disturbed. She was unlearned and without language. It was revealed that for most of her life, Jenny suffered physical and social restriction. Her parents did not want to talk to her. Also, her brother may not talk to her. Yeah. So she kept in a room. No one could, no one communicated with her. That's why input from other human is important. I think that's the end of my presentation. So the conclusion is it is very possible for human to be able to communicate in more than one language because God has already given us LED. God already has given us organ speech of organs, and there is always people who communicate with us. Without this, of course, something will happen to our communication ability. Hopefully, this presentation will give us inspiration to learn more languages because when we are able to communicate in more languages, in the language the people around us use, life will be easier. Yeah. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof. Abdul, for the remarkable presentation. It's so marvelous knowing how the human beings' communication recorded in Al-Quran clearly, especially the ability of human becoming polyglots. All right, now we move to question and answer session. If you have any question, please type your question on the chat box, or you can just directly raise a hand and you can ask directly to Prof. Abdul. We still have around 10 minutes for the discussion session. Okay, we are still waiting for questions. All right, seems that Mr. Nasrul raised a hand. Yes, please.
Prof, um, it's so honor that I got a chance to ask you about a specific question. That there is an interesting finding that you have already explained today. That is, when we would like to learn language, it is started from listening. Yeah. So I found also, yeah, the similar finding, yeah, from the scientific report, yeah, in the journal, that it is also from listening. So uh, you have you have a lot of experience in teaching the language, yeah, and as your experience to teach the language, English in particular, do you believe so that the finding is really relevant? That when would like to learn language, it must be started from the list. This is kind of option or alternatives we can actually start from the other step, maybe to reading first or writing first. So what is uh, in perceptions? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Nasrullah. I still believe that the theory saying that listening is the primary, spoken language is primary. In the past, yeah, people learn to acquire the language, imitating listening, imitating, producing sounds incomplete. But later, uh, a baby can develop his or her language very well. If you can read the story, yeah, of Jenny more completely. Uh, in that, in the book, yeah, in the book entitled Language, it is it is told the development of language. Yeah. A researcher tried to find out how his son developed his language. He observed from the baby until the age of 4 years, and he found out that when he was still a baby, when somebody adult person came to him and talked to him, he pays attention to him, he listened, he looked at him, and so on. But by the adding of age, his reactions is richer and richer. And when he was 4 years old, the father, who was also the researcher, was amazed. He found that uh, his son could speak the language he never heard before. So, see, listening is the key, I guess. Yeah, listening is the key. That's my answer.
Prof. So I'm really sorry. I need to confirm one more question. So when it is started from listening, it means it is validated what has been stated by Stephen questions about comprehensible input. Is that right, sir? Okay. So the problem why Indonesian are not capable in order to develop their communication ability, particularly in teaching uh, English as second language or foreign languages, is because the existence of quite insufficient exposure is not available. So it is kind of normal. Even actually, we started learning English from primary school until senior high school, and then university level, we still incapable in showing up a fluent is the language. It is because the starting is not coming from providing enough exposure, starting from the listening one, right? So there is a misconception over the regulations governed by the government, yeah, through the language policy. Yeah, what do you think, sir?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
thank
not
you.
going to talk about the policies because there are so many things that we should criticize about the policy. But in the theory of language acquisition, we have to treat any language. If we want to learn new language, we have to treat it as first language, meaning that we have to begin with listen. I had an experience when I was in Malang. I met a mother with two children. They were about 4 or 5 years. We met them in pharmacy. I wanted to buy some medicine, and it seemed that she also wanted to buy some medicine too. what surprised me was the two children were talking in English, very fluent and very good, much better than my English. And I talked to the mother, how could your children speak English very well whilst you are living in Malang, in Indonesia? The language circumstance is not supportive, is not conducive. He told me, she told me that at home, yeah, they use English. Uh, Luckily, that the husband also teach English, and the mother is a housewife, but she also could use English. So at home, they all the members of the family speak English. So every day the children listen to English. They are exposed to English without studying language English formally. They could understand and they could produce English very very well. Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you very much, Pak Nasrullah, for the question and probably for the answer. We still have two more questions, sir. So the first question is from Bapak Made. So he asked you whether you have found the answer, what language that the Prophet Muhammad used to communicate with Satan.
Sorry, what was the question?
What language? So did you find the answer? What language that Prophet Muhammad used to communicate with Satan?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, but he was Arabic. He was an Arab. Yeah, Prophet Muhammad was an Arab. I assume that he communicate with his companion in. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, I believe that he he communicated with his companions, with his people in Arabic. Yeah, yeah. I guess yeah.
Arabic, sorry, because Prophet Muhammad is an Arabian. Yeah. Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Prof. So I think this is the last question from Muhammad Nur Ramadan. The question is, what should be given to the younger generation so that many people can speak more than language, more than one language? Because nowadays, at least you have to be able to speak English. Yeah, so it's kind of like advice to younger generation.
Yeah, the what is it? What makes more people, a younger generation, or develop more languages? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I guess the need. When they need more languages, I think they are motivated to uh, to learn more languages. Besides, of course, the language circumstances. I had experience. Yeah, when I was in Malang, I'm a Banjaris. Yeah, I studied in Malang. All the people, I guess, yeah, speak in Japanese. When I came to the market, traditional market, people selling food, beverage, and so on were in Japanese. But I tried uh, to use Japanese, although I am aware that my Japanese was not like Japanese. My language, my Japanese is Japanese Banjaris, I guess. Yeah, but no problem. Even I received a response from the people. They were very glad, happy that I was using their language. And I could get uh, what I want to buy cheaper. Yeah, cheaper. That's why that my conclusion. More language you have, the easier your life will be. Yeah. So please learn more languages. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. So the more languages that we know or we're able to speak or communicate, the easier our life is. Yeah. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, because the time is limited for this session, we directly to the token of appreciation to Prof. Abdul. Yeah, so this is the certificate for Prof. Abdul on behalf of the organizing committee. Thank you very much for the time and the sharing, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end of the presentation and discussion session. Thank you very much for all the attention and participation. Lastly, I'd like to invite the Master of Ceremony to lead the next session.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Berat nih. Yang mendulunya net speaker. Ini net belakangan.
Thank you very much, Ms. Raisa, for leading the session.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is the closing remark from the chair of the committee. Please welcome Mr. Nasrullah.
The Honorable Lecturer, Universitas Lampung Profesor Dr. Haji Sutarto MSc. The Honorable the Chair of Asosiasi Program Studi Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris APSPBI, Bapak Paulus Keswandono PhD, and all of the attended board members. The Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Dr. Khairil Faipasani MSc, and the distinguished invited speaker, plenary presenters, participants, all audiences, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is the first English Language Education Study Program International Conference 2021, hosted by Universitas Lambung Mangkurat in cooperation with APSPBI Kalsel, consists of UIN Antasari Banjarmasin, Universitas Islam Kalimantan, Universitas Muhammadiyah Banjarmasin, STKIP Banjarmasin, STKIP Sabilal Muhtadin, Universitas Sari Mulia, and Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama, to mark the very village cooperation among English language education study program to mitigate problems in the use of technology in education. This conference brings the theme, the use of educational technology in ELT during COVID-19 pandemic era 2021 in this dynamic and fast-changing situation. Together with expert educators, practitioners, researchers, and also sponsors, we discussed the problems with the hope of sharing solutive ideas. We are so delightful that the moment can be supported by all those parties. Yeah. The organizing committee received approximately 75 proposals from many different regions in Indonesia. Around 300 participants, more than 300 participants involved in this 2 days conference from the 3rd of December to the 4th of December 2021. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to have this opportunity to once again to extend my deep gratitude and appreciations to all parties, including all the invited speakers, presenters, participants, for your participations, passion in disseminating precious ideas and insight so that this conference can be made successfully. If there are any flaws or inconvenience, we are so sorry for that, and we hope that we could hold a better management of conference in the future event. And thank you for your understanding. Last but not least, I would like to say big thanks to my colleges, students, and especially to SPBI CALSA, with all members from different universities who devoted the best commitment, your time, and full of energy to support and hold this event together so that this conference can be made possible and runs as planned. In short, I thank you all sincerely from the bottom of my heart. I wish all of you the best for your professional journeys. Make you all benefit from this conference. I wish you could join us again in our upcoming conference. Stay healthy and have a great moment. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Universitas Islam Negeri Antasari, Banjarmasin. UIN Antasari is located in Banjarmasin, South Kalimantan. UIN Antasari has 5 faculties. One of them is Faculty of Tarbiyah and Teacher Training. There are 12 departments under Faculty of Tarbiyah and Teacher Training. They are Pendidikan Agama Islam, Pendidikan Bahasa Arab, Tadris Bahasa Inggris, Pendidikan Matematika, Pendidikan Guru Madrasah Ibtidaiyah, Pendidikan Islam Anak Usia Dini, Bimbingan Konseling Pendidikan Islam, Manajemen Pendidikan Islam, Ilmu Perpustakaan dan Informasi Islam, Tadris Biologi, Tadris Fisika, dan Tadris Kimia. English Education Department is one of the favorite departments at Faculty of Torbia and Teacher Training. Visi misi English Education Department Vision menjadi program studi yang unggul tingkat nasional tahun 2025 dalam menghasilkan sarjana pendidikan bahasa Inggris yang kompeten dan berakhlak mulia. Mission menyelenggarakan pendidikan dan pembelajaran bahasa Inggris yang efektif dan terintegrasi dengan nilai keislaman sesuai dengan tuntutan perubahan dan perkembangan teknologi. Melaksanakan penelitian dalam bidang pendidikan bahasa Inggris, linguistik, dan sastra, melaksanakan pengabdian kepada masyarakat di bidang pendidikan dan pembelajaran bahasa Inggris, menjalin kerjasama tingkat regional, nasional, dan internasional dalam bidang pendidikan bahasa Inggris. English Education Department has representative facilities. English Education Department Office. It is located in Building M at second floor. Head of English Education Department, Secretary, and the staff work from this office. Lecturers Room. This room is used for working and creating academic events for lecturers and also a place for student discussion and consultation. Classroom. There are some rooms used for teaching and learning process. English Education Department has 12 classrooms, Building K and PSP Building. Library. English Education Department students can access Central Library, Faculty Library, and Students Access Center. SAC is a place for English education students to do self-study and discussion. SAC is also completed with ELT books, journals, and online sources to support their study. Language Laboratory. It is completed with facilities such as computers, headphones, LCD projector, and TV monitor. Computer Laboratory. It is a space with provided computer services to academicians, lecturers, students, and public. Micro-teaching Laboratory. This laboratory is used for students in practicing skills and developing their creativity teaching process. It has LCD, whiteboard, table, chair, and study room. Public facilities. There are mosques, sports center, office, hall. Boarding house. Public health service. And public academic service. English Student Association, ESA. This organization oversees valuable experiences that improve leadership skill, management skill, and communication. ESA has many activities. English Education Department also has a biannual published journal called PLAN. It is now accredited by Google Scholar, Garuda, and Singapore. English Education Department lecturers are active in joining seminar, workshop, and other events in local, national, and international level. Be creative
and be great by joining our study program at English Education Department, UIN Antasari, Banjarmasin.